Hey everyone, welcome to the Kimberly Guilfoyle Show, live on Rumble, where facts come first and where news is done right. And today we continue with our full breaking news coverage of the nonstop persecution of Donald Trump, all while the corrupt deep state bureaucrats do everything they can to protect Joe Biden. Truth Social CEO and former House Intelligence Chairman Devin Nunes will join us in just moments with what the media is missing about the indictment. And later, former Assistant Secretary at the Trump Treasury Department, Monica Crowley, will be here to lay out why Donald Trump is still the only candidate really to take on the swamp and ready to do it. Now, on Tuesday, Donald Trump in Miami pled not guilty to all 37 counts in the federal indictments. And later that evening, from his club in Bedminster, New Jersey, the 45th president made it clear he's as committed as ever to standing up for you. Take a look.
Down in infamy, and Joe Biden will forever be remembered as not only the most corrupt president in the history of our country, but perhaps even more importantly, the president who, together with a band of his closest thugs, misfits, and Marxists, tried to destroy American democracy. But they will fail, and we will win bigger and better than ever before.
And while Donald Trump is the target of never-ending witch hunts, the corruption inside this investigation is getting more and more obvious by the day. For example, Congressman Matt Gaetz this week sent a letter to Attorney General Merrick Garland demanding that the special counsel turn over information that one of his prosecutors, Karen Gilbert, previously donated to the campaigns of Joe Biden and Barack Obama. And this same prosecutor, Karen Gilbert, was reprimanded by a federal judge back in 2009 for secretly recording a defense lawyer and his investigator. That led to her retiring from her position at DOJ. And from what we know so far, this corrupt prosecutor is Jack Smith's pit bull, just like Andrew Weissman was for Robert Mueller during the Russia hoax witch hunt, raising even more questions about a lack of integrity in this whole sham investigation. So, you may be asking yourself, what comes next? As a former prosecutor, I can tell you that there will be a series of status conferences as the prosecution presents their evidence to the defense through discovery. Don't expect a quick process. This is going to take some time. And remember that discovery in this case could take much longer than usual since it relates to classified documents. And given what we already know, expect Team Trump to file pretrial motions to dismiss the case, arguing prosecutorial misconduct and insufficiency of the evidence. And as we reported to you earlier, former Trump attorney Tim Parlatore says questions asked during the grand jury involved issues protected by attorney-client privilege. And of course, this all comes at the same time that Joe Biden does everything he can to distract from his growing foreign bribery scandal. But a growing chorus inside the GOP are now demanding that the Justice Department appoint a new special counsel to investigate what appears to be a massive corruption scheme and a cover-up. According to Senate Republicans, one of Biden's shady business partners says he has tapes of Joe and Hunter discussing all their dirty tricks. Watch.
Now, Senator Grassley, who has a great deal of credibility, has received a document from a whistleblower inside the FBI based on a trusted informant that says President Biden has been bribed and that the people that bribed him have tapes.
And of course, Merrick Garland is missing in action over all of this, because there's one standard for Democrats and one standard for everyone else. Joining me now for a reaction to all of this, Truth Social CEO and former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, the man who exposed Russiagate, Devin Nunes. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks, Kimberly. Great to be with you.
Can you imagine how much has happened again in just a week's time? It's unbelievable. So I want to get your reaction to President Trump's remarks on Tuesday and what the American people need to understand about this indictment. And I was there. I thought the president did a great job. We had a great event for him that was pre-planned ahead of time, but he came off very strong and resolute. Talk to us about how you perceive the comments and your reaction to it.
Well, the American people are with President Trump. I mean, I've actually had for the first time many Democrats even admitting to me and family, friends, people like that say, look, this is wrong. This has gone on too far. These are Democrats. They're not going to vote for Trump, but they see that something's rotting in Washington, D.C. I think the other bigger issue here is forget the two-tier justice system, the hypocrisy of the whole thing. Garland is just a scorned guy. He's got really nasty people below him. I think the point that you make about this deputy attorney general, they've refused, or not deputy attorney general, although the deputy attorney general is also a problem, Kimberly.
Yeah.
It's totally different news. But the deputy under the special counsel, if it is indeed this career prosecutor that has had all sorts of issues, it now makes sense why Garland has refused to give Congress who are the people working on the special counsel's team. That's just unacceptable that we don't have those names, because it's probably even worse than the old Mueller witch hunt team.
Yeah.
But let me just take you back to what I think people are missing in all this. And that is this: the indictment reads like a really nice spy novel. I give them credit. It's maybe a little bit better than the old Steele dossier that the Clinton campaign put together, but it talks a lot about classified documents. And I think it mentions that, I think I counted like some 100 times that you read the term classified document. Well, here's the problem. As somebody who worked with classified documents for nearly 2 decades, I know that there is a law that governs classified documents. I know that what I can do with a classified document, if I was to have left Congress, like Joe Biden did when he was a senator, took documents to my house, kept them there for 10 years, look, I'd be in trouble under the law that governs classified documents. So here's the kicker. They're not going after President Trump on the mishandling of classified documents. They're skipping all that, and they're going to the Espionage Act. And that's what's so disingenuous about this. You've got all the hypocrisy. You've got that the Presidential Records Act governs this. But even their indictment itself, you can tell it's a lie. They use 31 times, they say 31 separate documents. They describe them as classified documents. But when you read what he's actually indicted for, they didn't use mishandling classified documents. They're calling it the National Defense Information under the Espionage Act. It's really, really sickening.
No, it really is. And I think it's hard because, and you're explaining it well, because there's some nuance to all of it. And they are trying to hide behind, this confusion, and they're trying to obfuscate. And so then people are saying, well, wait a second, I thought the president can declassify documents that were created, produced, et cetera, during the term of his, presidency. So why is it that they're able to go after President Trump with this antiquated Espionage Act?
Right. And that's the thing that doesn't make any sense. And even under the Espionage Act, they stop, because remember, the Espionage Act is something that if it's somebody who's taking information with the purpose of stealing it, taking it illegally, and then going to sell it or give it over to an enemy. That's the purpose of the Espionage. That's why we have an Espionage Act. Okay. But what's so weird about it is that that's not how the indictment reads. When you read the indictment, you read the stories, it's all about mishandling a classified document. So the two don't jive together. And then they use this crazy story that a lot of people, the fake news, if you notice, how many times have you heard this story over the past week since this came out? And that's this story of that President Trump was waving a document around, and then he was caught on a tape with talking to staff that he said something. Well, when you read that, if you don't read the fine print, you think that's all happened in one time. What they did is they took 2 unrelated stories, they mashed them together, and tried to make the reader makes it look like there was this meeting. Trump was waving papers around. He might have shown it to somebody. He said he couldn't show it to him. It's just, sorry, I know you have a clean show, but it's a hoax.
Clean.
It's a hoax. I was going to use something else, but
yeah, it is. It's such nonsense. But here's the problem. People at home, they're watching and they're listening to this and they're saying, wait a second, who did he say this to? When did it happen? And like you said, it's conflating 2 different separate incidents, trying to combine it together, mishmash it to make it appear. And I think a lot of this is about trying to make President Trump look bad, because I don't believe legally and procedurally that they're going to see this through through its fruition before the 2024 election. So they're trying to suppress support for him. They're trying to dirty him as a candidate with donors,
Right.
with voters, with the base. It's backfiring. He's already up 10 million since that indictment. We had a pre-planned fundraiser for him and a great dinner and reception, and a ton of people showed up, and 350 news outlets Tuesday in Bedminster. So he's on a roll, and he's only gaining in the polls. So their strategy seems to be backfiring.
Yeah. Well, and remember, how did this all start? And that's important to know too.
Yeah.
This started supposedly because the National Archives, the archivist of the United States of America, got very concerned because there were some documents that were missing. Well, we know now the fake news has buried this, and I think this has been lost on people, but they did bring the archivist into the Congress, and they discovered that the archivist said that, yes, he did in fact make a criminal referral. When it was asked, well, what were the documents that were missing? One was a letter from Obama to Trump. The other one was a letter from Kim Jong-un to Trump. Now, wait a second. Those are letters to President Trump. He decides if those are classified or not. And why would the archivist do a criminal referral to DOJ? Like, that's never happened before. That makes no sense.
No.
I mean, why not just call up Trump's office and say, hey,
Right.
we think we're missing a letter from Obama and a letter from Kim Jong-un. We'd like to have a copy of it. They didn't do that. So why did this all happen? Does this mean the archivist was just doing his job? No. What happened here is the archivist, they needed, in order to have a predicate, as you well know,
Right.
to start, because they had to check the boxes. They didn't want to make the same mistakes they made during Crossfire Hurricane and the Russia hoax. So they wanted to have, who could argue that the archivist was missing this? But when you peel it back, I just don't believe any normal human being would make a criminal referral to DOJ on those two ridiculous letters. It doesn't make sense. So this was all cooked up in the swamp. It's not predicated properly. Clearly, they were covering their asses. And then you got, in addition to that, the points you made, we have this unprecedented of turning these lawyers, taking away their attorney-client privilege. None of this makes any sense. And I think that's why you see President Trump going up in the polls. It's because people see this. It's not an attack just on one man. It's an attack on all of our institutions, our country, our democratic process, and everything else.
Yeah, it seems like that, in fact, so many people that I know, they're like, well, we're kind of on the fence, want to support him, that have come over to his side now because they see this happening. And quite frankly, it is unprecedented. It's outrageous. It's something you never thought you would see in the United States of America. And they're saying, okay, if they can do this to him, they can do it to any one of us, as well. And I don't think anybody has, full throttle support for that, except, Joe Biden, who's decided to take a, page out of Chavez's book or something so that he can jail his primary political rival and opponent.
Yeah, and can I just point out one more thing before you let me go?
Yeah, go
that I
ahead,
think
yeah.
it's lost on people.
Yeah.
So this is also interesting. So remember this whole concept that we've been hearing the last couple months since all these candidates got into the Republican primary, many who are my friends, many whom I know. And they were telling the story of, well, they're just doing this to help Trump because they actually want Trump to win, right? That was their story. Meaning the left, the Democrats. They really want Trump to win because they'd rather run. It's ridiculous. It's like those old, Michael Jordan commercials where he'd like shoot a basketball off of the top of the gym and off of this, off of that into the net. Well, what did you see over the past couple of days? Nearly every single Republican that's now in the race, except for one, has basically joined in with the left and made ridiculous statements about what this is or is not. And many of those people who I know, they know better. They know exactly, what is happening here. And they clearly know they're getting wiped out in this primary, the other Republicans. And I just say I'm very disappointed in many of them because they should all be
I want
standing
to hear some
up
specifics
firmly.
about this because I think you're onto something here, and I think we should call people out for their behavior and their conduct because it's pretty outrageous what's happening to the president. Talk to the folks at home
Anybody
about this.
Anybody who's running for president on the Republican side, we have been dealing with this crap since 2016. This crap from DOJ and FBI that's rotting from within. I mean, now they've rotted every institution, including, like we talked about, the National Archives. But this is like a whole new level. Here you are, we're 7 years into this madness. Like, you don't have to say, look, I'm endorsing Donald Trump. But what you should have to say is that this is not right. This is not okay. And you should condemn it strongly. The only one we saw that did that showed up in Miami, wearing like some truth hat, which I wasn't sure if he was promoting Truth Social or what, is this Vivek guy who I'll mess up his last name. But I at least give that guy credit for going to Miami to be willing to stand up there and say this is wrong. And yet you're seeing I think every single one of the other candidates have said ridiculous things, regurgitating the never Trump and left-wing talking points, and they should be ashamed of themselves.
Who's been bad? Call them out.
I think everyone. I don't want to. I haven't read all of the exact statements, but I've only read headlines. But they've all made comments like, look, it varies from, obviously we know the Chris Christie and Hutchinson. We know kind of why they're just doing kamikaze attacks to hurt President Trump.
Right.
But I think even the more credible ones, who served in Trump's administration, Haley and Tim Scott, who I served with, they should be making clear statements on this, but instead they're waffling, and this is not a time to waffle.
Devin, I think it's going to hurt
this
them.
is a time to be tough and stand up for people that for not only the Republican Party, but for our institutions, our democratic republic. We have crossed a Rubicon here in this country that we're never going to come back from. The full weaponization of our government.
This is very interesting because, I was with President Trump, right, on Tuesday, and then waiting for him there for when he came back. And he was actually remarkably in good spirits, but he did mention very good things about Vivek Ramaswamy. He's like, he was right there and he was saying positive things and about Trump. And I think that, and I've talked to a lot of people, Vivek is a very interesting, compelling character. And he seems to have a lot of popular support amongst Trump supporters. And I think he's probably one of the smartest, if not the smartest, running against Trump, because he gets it. He knows you're not going to get anywhere if you sit there and badmouth and you actually pony up just for political expediency with the left and the Democrats and the weaponized, DOJ and legal system. That's not going to get you anywhere, and especially with these, voters. And then President Trump was not happy, about Nikki Haley, Tim Scott, all of the above. He remembers these things. Okay, he's already got his target set on Ron DeSantis. But these people need to think a big picture about the party, about the country, not just about themselves. Stop making weird, strange bedfellows with, liberals and Democrats and Joe Biden and Merrick Garland. Because, our whole base is going to have a very long memory for all of this. And not only will it damage them and hurt them for this race, for any consideration of being a vice presidential candidate, but they will be damaged for 2028 as well. And they're not thinking.
And can I tell you what and I'll just finish, and I'll finish with this too, Kimberly, just to add an explanation point to you, what you're saying. And this is just circumstantial, but having been in this business for a long time, I think it also shows that Vivek doesn't owe anything to any donors, right? What's happened here is that all these other candidates who are they're on life support, right? They're struggling to raise any money. I am sure that every one of their big donors and supporters said, this is our last chance. We got to team up. Like, you got to go out. You got to be hard. You have to say something. And I think that's the real difference here, is that Donald Trump's not controlled by anyone. And I think you saw that this week with Vivek actually just saying what most Republicans believe, that this is total crap. That's what he said.
Well, people
that's
like
what you
that.
saw.
And he really actually is able to effectively articulate the America First message and to speak to the younger generation as well. There's a good connection in there. And I've seen it from actually, quite frankly, all across, the demographics. Older Trump supporters, younger, et cetera. Like, he's catching their attention and their eye. And you're right, he is not beholden to any donor class whatsoever. And that was just like President Trump. And that gives you tremendous, authenticity and autonomy to be able to think, say, do, act exactly in accordance, with your beliefs. I think it's very interesting. And I want to give a shout out to Dr. Ben Carson, Secretary Carson, because he has been unbelievably loyal and supportive to the president from day one and has never wavered. And I particularly love the little Rocky Balboa meme thing he put up for happy birthday. Did you see this? And it's like Apollo Creed and Rocky Balboa. It's Trump and Ben Carson. So I was like, That was pretty funny. But anyway, so he's a good guy too. I like to give a shout out to the good guys and who are supportive, because there's too many bad apples and bad characters around here. But I have an important question for you that I really want to know the answer to. What sort of oversight can Congress conduct over the special counsel? Because people are wondering about that. When we see people like Gates and MTG and all the fighters in Congress and Corey Mills talking about this, what can they do to help put some pressure, shine some light, some scrutiny, and kind of control some of this as it relates to special counsel?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's very difficult for them because they have a 3-seat majority in the House, and I will say
Right.
they've done some good work. So the key is to make sure that they are trying to subpoena everybody at the DOJ and FBI that would have been involved from the Mar-a-Lago document hoax raid to picking the special counsel. How was that put together? That's all ultimately what would have to be looked at is it's the bureaucracies. They're rotting from within because they've created like this Gestapo operation for the left inside Washington, D.C. that continues to do this. It's basically the same people that did Crossfire Hurricane and the whole Russia hoax and the Ukraine impeachment hoax. Remember, they knew, the FBI knew at the time of the Russia hoax, when I was saying this was nonsense, they had plenty of information that this was Clinton's campaign scheme from 16. They had the intelligence. They didn't share that with us. The only one working with Russians were the DNC. Fast forward with Mueller. Mueller knew there was no intelligence. Fast forward during Ukraine impeachment. They knew when Trump brought up that that he had heard there was some corruption, that was true. And not only was it true, and this is what we didn't know at the time, the FBI and DOJ had the intelligence and investigative leads, and they let a president be impeached. They let, I had to sit through 3 months of that nonsense of the impeachment, where we had to do that whole investigation.
Oh, yeah.
Why didn't the FBI and DOJ ever walk in there and say, whoa, wait a second, guys, just so you know, they could have brought it to the Gang of Eight, which I was part of, just so you know, we have all of this information on Ukraine, on what the Bidens are doing, and the president, is right on this, and you guys should just stop this nonsense. That's what a normal functioning democracy with a real DOJ and a real intelligence agency, they would not have put the United States of America through that ridiculous Russia hoax and ridiculous Ukraine impeachment hoax. And now it's just continuing.
Imprisoned because of that. But this is the problem too. I mean, we're learning, that the FBI has probably been hiding this evidence, right? That then VP Biden took this foreign bribe and allegedly may have even been recorded. So there could be like recording of this. So, I mean, does this put impeachment, if you were in charge like you were before and everything, does this put impeachment on the table? A lot of people are asking about this. And also perhaps maybe even give the Democrats an exit ramp to have him not run again.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons that that Biden is so desperate to stay in on this deal, is because I think he knows that if he gets out, he's going to be in big trouble. I think it's another reason why you have Gavin Newsom, who's running this shadow campaign. I think there's a lot of Democrats out there running a shadow campaign thinking that Biden will either have a health issue or that eventually what they probably all know, that this bribery stuff will all come out. I think the question will be if the Republicans, can they get the actual audio tapes and then match up all the bank records? Look, then it'd be pretty clear that there's, and the fact that DOJ and FBI have never run an investigation. What do you do at that point?
And do it in time for this whole 2024 election. But you know how this is. Look at we just got the Durham report after how many years? Like this whole thing gets so dragged out. It's just bananas. Before we go, I want to talk about Adam Schiff, which really turns my stomach to even say his name. But what is your reaction to this? I'm very frustrated with it that the 20 House Republicans joined Democrats to reject.
Well, as you know, as you probably know, I'm no defender of Adam Schiff, as you probably know.
Yeah.
He's a very bad guy. He's from Hollywood. He basically pretends like he's from Hollywood because he's just acting all of the time.
Literally.
He's currently in the lead right now for the Senate. He desperately needs Senator Feinstein to stay in there because Governor Newsom has said that
appoint
someone else. And I think whoever Gavin Newsom appoints would likely be the front runner, and it would knock Schiff out. What happened with the Republicans, from what I understand, and I think this could be accurate, that it's never been done before that the members have fined someone, and they were trying to fine Schiff $16 million or recommend a fine. And so what I understand, talking to my colleagues there, that they just want to make sure that they get this right. So they stopped the rule. They're going to bring this back next week without the fine and leave that up to the ethics committee to decide what to do. That's the way I understand it.
Very interesting.
So at first it looks really bad, but if anybody wants to see this guy censured by the House of Representatives, it's me. But I think what they're doing seems to make some sense.
Yeah, and he's just a big liar. He shouldn't even be allowed to hold office. He literally lied about all this. He knew it wasn't true. Like you said, he's an actor. It's just like, oh, I'm an actor. It's okay. I can lie and say whatever I want and take the taxpayers' money. I mean, he's the guy that said he wanted my fiance, tried for treason, punishable by death for a phony for Russiagate. Remember that?
I was there the day that we were interviewing Donald Trump Jr. and down in the SCIF. Or the Star Chamber, I think, as they used to call it. And we heard the testimony, and then we all walk outside, and then there was some leak that wasn't even true. That had not even happened. That it was in the middle of the deposition. It was totally ridiculous.
Yeah,
but that's just ridiculous. One of many things he's done. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So the one time I'm like rooting for Gavin so that he can appoint someone to screw over Schiff. It gets complicated.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, he needs Feinstein to stay in office.
Oh, I know. It's like unbelievable. TikTok. All right, Devin, you're the best. Absolutely great job and continued success with Truth Social.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me, Kimberly.
All right. All right, we look forward to having him back on again. And just ahead, the one and only Monica Crowley will be here to lay out why Donald Trump is the only choice for 2024. So make sure you like and subscribe down below so you never miss an episode. And it's all of you who make this show possible, along with our amazing sponsors like the great folks over at Goldco. Gold and silver can protect your retirement savings from inflation and dollar devaluation. Look, we see all the economic warning signs. We see banks collapsing. We see reckless spending. And I want you to be ready because I'm ready. So with Goldco, you can take action to secure and stabilize your portfolio. Roll over your 401k or IRA into precious metals and safeguard your savings. And you can do it tax and penalty free. From precious metals, IRAs to direct purchases of gold and silver, Goldco has helped thousands of Americans place over $2 billion in gold and silver. And when you open up a qualifying gold IRA today, get up to $10,000 in free silver. Where are you going to get that deal? So go to kimsmetals.com to learn more. That's kimsmetals.com. And the great folks at Goldco will take you through it step by step, do all of it for you like the best personal assistant in the planet, okay? So head over there, kimsmetals.com. And I also want to bring you a brand new message from Patriot Lifestyle, where you can save more and spend less on a whole host of different benefits, from non-insurance healthcare benefits to savings on travel, identity theft, legal services, and even pet care for your favorite pooches. Take a look. Kimberly Guilfoyle here, and I'm so excited to introduce the Patriot Lifestyle Benefits Program. With our Patriot Lifestyle Benefits Program, you get a range of non-insured healthcare benefits at an affordable price so you can save money, stay healthy, and stay secure. For example, need to consult with a doctor 24/7 without leaving your home? Our telemedicine service gives you the ability to talk with a board-certified physician in your state with no per-visit fees. And what about keeping that healthy smile and clear vision? Our dental and vision discounts will keep you smiling and seeing clearly, all at a great price. And when visiting patriotbenefits.net, don't forget to download your free Freedom RX Pharmacy Discount Card in appreciation for your continued support. But that's not all. Our program goes beyond just health and wellness. We also offer identity theft protection so you can stay on top of any unauthorized, fraudulent, or illegal activity. And you also have access to free and discounted legal services so you can protect your rights and receive top legal advice without breaking the bank. And even take care of your furry friends with discounts on pet food, toys, medicine, grooming, and even trips to the vet. Plus, enjoy peace of mind on the highway with our roadside assistance program. Now, as a member of our Patriot Lifestyle Benefits Program, you'll have access to exclusive discounts with NB Cash Back, so you can save even more on your everyday expenses like groceries, restaurants, and even auto services. And with NB Travel, you can experience more but spend less by enjoying deep discounts on flights, hotels, and so much more. At no additional cost, these benefits are available to you and your immediate family to use anytime, anywhere. Our program is designed specifically for America First patriots like you who understand the importance of not just a great dollar value, but the need to let your dollars reflect your values and supporting companies who support you. And the best part of all of this, our benefits are at below market prices, so you can enjoy them while living the Patriot lifestyle to the fullest. So don't miss out. Visit our website at patriotbenefits.net. That's patriotbenefits.net. Thank you again for choosing the Patriot Lifestyle Benefits Program, where real benefits and real savings are our top priority. Join us today and start saving now. And you can go to patriotbenefits.net to learn more. These programs all come in an extraordinary value and will greatly improve your life. And now, continuing coverage of our top story, the destruction of our justice system and the imploding presidency of Joe Biden. Biden actually laughed off a question this week when asked about potential audio recordings of his conversations with a Burisma executive who he allegedly bribed while vice president. Take a look.
True.
Would you comment on the arrest of the former president, sir?
Remember, Burisma was the corrupt Ukrainian energy giant where Hunter worked, despite having absolutely zero experience or qualifications in the oil and gas industry. But he's also not an artist or painter either, but that didn't stop him. All while Joe was in charge of the Ukraine portfolio under Barack Obama. But Biden just laughs off a question about his own massive scandal while he tries to put his political opponent in prison. What an absolute disgrace. Joining me now for reaction, former Trump Treasury Department Assistant Secretary, host of the Monica Crowley podcast show, MAGA superstar Monica Crowley, and also a great friend to myself and Don Jr. Monica, great to have you on the program.
Hi, Kimberly. It's so great to be with you. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, yeah, it is our absolute pleasure. So I first want to get your reaction to Joe Biden literally laughing off questions about what appears to be a growing scandal with credible evidence.
Yeah, KG, bribery is something that is so direct and so obvious and so easily understandable to the American people that this is going to be a blockbuster of a scandal. I mean, it already is, despite the fact that the propaganda press is not covering it literally at all. But this is something that the American people can truly understand. It's not a complex land deal in Whitewater, Arkansas, right? It doesn't have all these kinds of intricacies. This is a very direct textbook case of straight up bribery by the then Vice President of the United States, who now happens to be the President of the United States. So the problem for Biden is that this is an easily digestible, understandable, and completely outrageous to most Americans scandal. The reason he's laughing, KG, is because he knows that he's got the protection of the press. When you have the protection of the press in this country, you can literally get away with anything. And that's most Democrats, right? They enjoy the propaganda press. They know that the story will not be amplified. They know that the press will not only cover for them, but advance their own arguments and their own interests for them. So this is why Biden knows that there's likely not to be any accountability here, because the press will just do his bidding as they have throughout his entire career. KG, Joe Biden has always been a hack and a jerk. Now he's a hack and a jerk with dementia, where all of his scandals over the last, 50 years have now percolated to the surface. And the question now is what is to be done in terms of accountability. And as long as Merrick Garland, the most radical political attorney general we have ever had is sitting atop the Justice Department, we're not going to get any accountability in terms of that. But what we can do is at least start impeachment proceedings in the House. Even if it doesn't go anywhere in the Senate, you've got to begin a process of transparency and accountability.
I think you're absolutely right. People can't just say, well, don't do it because it's not going to go anywhere in the Senate. You make a great point. Do it because it's the right thing to do, and there's facts and evidence to support it. So you have a responsibility, like you said, for transparency and to do this to preserve, the republic, to preserve our democracy and our government institutions, and to make sure that we do not have a flat out legitimate criminal in the White House. It's unbelievable. If this was President Trump, as you know, and back when you worked for him and you were in Treasury and running that with Mnuchin, oh my God, could you imagine if this happened? You'd be like, oh, it's toast for Trump. I mean, they'd have him out of there so fast, like his head would spin.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because look, a couple of things. Number one, the protection of the press, which President Trump never had because he's the ultimate fighter and the ultimate disruptor for America and Americans first. They can't abide that, so they needed to destroy him. He's an existential threat to the entire corrupt ruling class and their absolute grip on power, which is why since he came down the escalator, they've had guns a-blazing to destroy him. They cannot allow him to succeed. But the other part of this is, we just saw this with the Adam Schiff debacle in the House, where you had 20 cowardly, weak, weaselly Republicans who joined with the Democrats to kill that measure, simply to censure Adam Schiff for being a pathological liar and a main driver of the Russia hoax that undermined Trump's presidency and crippled this country and cost us $32 million.
Exactly.
Throw them out of office. Yeah. I mean, our side can't even get it together to do a simple censure of a pathological liar on the other side. The Democrats never do this, KG. They always stay completely unified. Their leadership cracks the whip with absolute discipline, and they all fall in line. So if this were President Trump, to your point, I mean, the Democrats would be a unified bloc along with big tech, the propaganda press, the culture, Hollywood, everybody else coming at him. And the pressure would be so immense to get him to resign or go full-blown impeachment and conviction. Our side can't even get it together to order lunch as a caucus.
True.
So, the idea that somehow they're going to get it together to impeach Biden when they couldn't even censure Schiff is ludicrous.
Yeah, it's very disappointing, quite frankly. I hope people are paying attention. Thomas Massey was one of them from Kentucky, a total McConnell lover and supporter, and he's terrible. And somebody fabulous should run against him because he needs to go. I want to talk about the Biden Treasury Department that stonewalled before finally handing over all of Hunter Biden's suspicious activity reports to the House Oversight Committee relating to foreign dealings. So from Treasury to the FBI, all these major institutions by default are literally trying to withhold vital information from the American people, flying in the face of transparency. Why is this?
Yeah, I've got to say, being at Treasury, there's a longstanding tradition that when Congress requests suspicious activities reports and other kinds of documentation, Treasury just instantly turns it over. I mean, there's never been any kind of question. It just goes to Congress. I mean, it's a cooperation between the branches of government. When I was at Treasury, plenty of SARS reports, including some SARS reports on Jeffrey Epstein that had come in over the years that we turned over to congressional investigators. But in this case, Janet Yellen has decided that, she was going to stonewall this for as long as she could until Republicans gained control of Congress, had subpoena power, and forced her to turn it over. Just so everybody's clear, if you get one SARS report against you, that's pretty sketch, right? Like you don't want one SARS report against you because it's flagged by the banks to Treasury. Hunter Biden apparently and the Biden crime family had north of 200. We don't have the exact number, but it is a crazy number of SARS reports. Now Congress has it, and they're piecing the story together with the bank reports, with now what we're hearing coming out of the FBI with that Form 1023, which shows straight up bribery, apparently. So all of the financial pieces are coming together, that this man, Joe Biden, has leveraged his positions from U.S. Senator to Vice President to God knows what he's doing now as President of the United States, leveraged all of that to influence American foreign policy to line his own pockets. That is textbook bribery. It is textbook corruption. And this man should not be anywhere near the Oval Office, never mind the sitting president of the United States.
You're absolutely right. You make the case in a compelling way. And, that's why it's important we have shows like yours, your podcast, this show, Don Jr., to get the facts and the truth and the information out there, because the point that you make is so important. The media has been so complicit and really acting essentially like in concert and as an accomplice in all of this with Joe Biden and with the weaponized justice system and government institutions, that it's incumbent upon us to be able to try to reach the good American people out there and provide, the transparency. So I want to talk a little bit about how this plays out, okay, big picture wise. So you put back on your analyst hat on Joe Biden. He says he's running. And he's got to run, like Devin saying, I think he really wants to make sure that he's going to be, running again and that he gets in, because otherwise it's curtains for him. He's in big trouble, right, with all the corruption and the charges, et cetera, that should be filed against him. But we see him getting weaker and weaker, literally falling down, unable to do the job in every way, cognitively, physically. Do you think that the swamp is going to go all in to protect him? Or is there a little bit of a crack here in the support for him? There's a chance that we see another candidate emerge and step up for 2024.
Well, it's really interesting, KG. I had President Trump on my podcast last week and actually talked to him the day before the indictment came down. And I recommend that show to everybody. Go take a listen, because it was so conversational and it was just a chat between two friends.
And where can people find it so they can go watch it? Give them the info.
Yes, the Monica Crowley podcast, available on all podcast platforms, Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher. Go check it out, automatically download it, subscribe. And it was last Wednesday's show with President Trump. And one of the questions that I asked him was, look, I don't think that most people think that Joe Biden is going to make it, right? I mean, just today, Kimberly, he was talking about building a railroad across the ocean. I mean, he's so far out of it. We're laughing, and it's actually not funny, because I think the American people are just furious that we're in this position.
He wants everyone to bright line over the ocean. Is that what it is?
Yeah, he was talking about how we built a railroad across the ocean. I mean, come on. This man belongs in assisted living, not in the Oval Office. Let's just be
careful
clear.
If he tries to go to the villages. He's a big sniffer, big pervert.
Oh my gosh.
I don't even think they want him.
No, they do not. They do not. I just gave a speech at the villages, KG. They do not want him anywhere near there.
They got no love for Biden, let me tell you.
No. So I asked President Trump, whether or not he's prepared for another candidate. So, because I don't think most people assume that Joe Biden is going to make this. And I think there are all kinds of machinations happening in the smoke-filled rooms of the left-wing power brokers on how to maneuver this. So I think there are two options here for them. Number one, if they believe that they can pull another crisis plan like they did in 2020, where they launched a virus, shut down the global economy, and had Antifa and BLM burn down the country in order to stop Donald Trump. If they can come up with another kind of extreme crisis plan to keep Joe Biden off the campaign trail, back in the basement, and contain him, they will try that. If, however, by the end of this year, they believe that they cannot pull that off and Joe Biden cannot pull that off, then I think you're looking at the power brokers replacing him. And for a long time, KG, I've talked about the possibility of Mrs. Obama running for the Democratic nomination, or in fact, not even having to do that, pulling the trigger like midway through the primaries next year. So she doesn't even have to lift a finger to run.
I agree.
She poses as the reluctant candidate and they draft her in there. And I asked President Trump, are you ready for that? Because, you know, she's going to run. She's obviously a woman of color. She's immune to criticism, has
Very
the entire
popular.
Obama machinery ready to go. And he said, yeah, you know what, we're prepared for all contingencies. And I hope he and the campaign truly are. But absent Biden, absent Michelle, you've got Gavin Newsom chewing at the bit. You've got Mrs. Clinton maybe wanting to get in. So I think the power brokers are going to make a final calculation by the end of this year, whether or not they can pull off running this senile hack, this corrupt, demented man. Or if not, then they will let him go so fast your head will spin, and they'll also have to get rid of Kamala Harris, which they will have no problem doing.
She's such a disaster. I mean, it's just so bad. Frickin' frack in the White House, you know, she and Biden, it's like, I don't know. I guess he's worse, but I mean, I can barely even stomach even saying that because she's absolutely terrible. I mean, I think she's less popular than he is, which is saying
Oh, yeah,
something.
she's a disaster. Yeah. And they realize they can't run her. So it is going to be a challenge for them to get rid of not one, but two, the president and the vice president. But they will make it worth Kamala's while to get out of there. And then they'll just ease Biden out in some way. They're going to have to walk over Dr. Jill in order to do that. But these are very powerful people in the deep state and in the deep
It's
state
really true.
left, Kimberly. And we
Yeah,
know what they're
very good at
capable
it,
of.
to be quite frank.
Yeah, yes,
I mean,
they
that's the problem, and you know we can't even censor shift. I mean, give me a break. I want to talk about your column too, by the way, which was excellent.
Sure.
You wrote the column titled "Trump is still the one, the only one now more than ever," and you also had Trump, like you talked about on your podcast. So I hope you sent him your article. Lay out how this indictment affects the primary. Okay, and where Donald Trump is positioned as it stands today, and how that will also impact the general, assuming that he will be the nominee.
Yes. So thank you for raising my most recent column. It came out last week in Newsweek. I posted it on my social media as well as Newsweek still has it up. And I'm very proud to say, Kimberly, I did send it to President Trump and he put it up on Truth Social and thanked me for it, which was great. I have to say, Newsweek, the day that Ron DeSantis announced that he was running for president, they had commissioned a piece from me promoting Donald Trump as the next GOP nominee and president. And they commissioned a piece from a DeSantis reporter.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud to say that my pro-Trump piece beat the DeSantis piece 3-1. Yay!
Winning.
Look, the indictment, as we have seen over the last couple of days in terms of the polling, has shown that yet again, Donald Trump is strengthened by every hit on him. He's like a superhero. Every time he gets hit, he only grows stronger. And now we're seeing that he's over his nearest competitor in the GOP race by 40 points. Some polls have him 45 points, even more in some cases. So look, there is a rallying effect around Donald Trump. And really, it happens, it's just human nature. It happens around people who are unjustly accused, who are being railroaded, whether it's Donald Trump or anybody else. And so, you know, his enemies never learn. They can't not do it, Kimberly, right? I mean, if they really wanted to marginalize him and didn't want him in this race, they should just ignore him. You know, let him just proceed apace with his campaign and everything else, but they can't stop themselves because he is such a threat to them. So look, I think this primary is over. I think it's Donald Trump's for the asking, barring some crazy external event that we can't predict. I think this primary is over. I think he's absolutely the nominee. I think Republican voters and independent voters and even, you know, disaffected Democrats want to make it up to him. They think he got screwed in 2020. They think he got screwed during his presidency. They want to make it up to him. January 6th, all of it. So they can't wait to vote for him again. Going into the general, I mean, look, of course he can win a general election with the right campaign and the right messaging. Of course he can. And my message to people, Kimberly, who say he can't win, I go, oh yeah, well, he already won twice, so.
Right.
And that basically stops the tracks, right?
And I think
so. Yeah, I mean,
we're going to show up for him, Monica, because when, you know, last time I think they quite frankly thought, okay, There's no way, like, Trump's going to beat, Biden. We got to run up the score, get even more people to come out and vote this time, because you've got to make up for any cheating that they're going to try to do, and make up for that amount. But the motivation, I think, is so high right now, especially given all the, existential threats that we're up against. And you've got to have somebody that's ready to go, ready to throw down, day one with executive orders, that knows exactly what to do and who to put in, and Treasury and DOJ, all of the above, and make sure that it's taken care of. Revamp, the FBI, aspects, parts of the CIA, and then not to mention get the economy back on track and secure our border like ASAP, day one. None of these other people are ready to do it, and none of them seem to be getting the message that attacking Trump like this is only going to damage them and hurt them for 2024 and 2028. Who do you think's behaving on the naughty or nice list? I had Devin Nunes on earlier, and he was saying that Vivek seems to be getting it, and he was down in Miami supporting Trump and making comments and really articulating the America First message. So far, he seems to be doing well and resonating with people.
Yeah, I mean, look, a couple of things. First of all, it doesn't matter how strong Donald Trump is as a candidate if we don't fix the voting situation in this country. I mean, we've allowed 2 now election cycles to go by where we haven't had any of this fixed, right? Early voting, mass mail-in balloting, ballot harvesting, ballot chasing. So Donald Trump can run a perfect campaign next time, but unless and until we fix all of that, I mean, it's like spitting into the wind, right? So that's number one. Number two, I think the smart Republicans really get it. They get that this party now is not the party of George W. Bush or his father or even Ronald Reagan anymore. This is an America First party. Separate and distinct from Donald Trump, he leads the movement, but the party now is a wholly different nationalist, populist party. And so smart Republicans really understand that. They're backing the strong horse in Donald Trump, and that's a very smart thing to do. And look, in terms of these other candidates, they're all very smart, effective leaders. Governor DeSantis, all of them are. But you've got to understand something here, that we're in a war for the future of the country.
That's true.
And I have now been making this argument for 2 years since Trump left, which is the next go around, you better go with the ultimate fighter. You better go with someone who has stared down the deep state and beat them back and can anticipate what is coming at them. Because I'll tell you right now, the deep state has a portfolio ready to go on Governor DeSantis, Nikki Haley, Chris Christie, Vivek Ramaswamy, all of them. Because if for some unforeseen reason one of them gets the nomination, they are ready to go and take them out at the knees. So you better go with somebody who's been through this before, who understands the nature of the threat and is ready to push back and fight and defeat them, not just during the campaign, but as president.
Yeah, it's really true. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the MAGA agenda, because I've said, that without, quite frankly, dismantling the federal bureaucracy and, rooting out the corruption, you can't achieve some of the very other important, integral policy goals that we want to achieve. Lay out for us what you see for the MAGA agenda in 2024. What needs to happen when President Trump is reelected?
So I think, his big core campaign message should boil down to, look, I saved America once. I'm the only one who can really do it again. And I've got this extraordinary track record from the first term, first 4 years, of turning the U.S. economy around, not once, but twice during that first term. Once out of the disaster of Barack Obama's presidency, and then after the unprecedented crisis of COVID, he actually turned around the U.S. economy twice. He can do it a third time, and then lay out exactly how he's going to do it, which is what he did the first time. Tax cuts, regulatory relief, unleashing our great energy sector, and fair trade deals for the American worker, American farmers, fishermen, the American people. So that's on the economic side, which frankly, I think the economic issues are really going to drive this next election, especially if we go into a recession at the end of this year and into next year. Then I think he points to the secure border and he says, look, my first term, I basically solved the illegal immigration problem and the border problem, and I'm going to do it again. And here's how I'm going to do it again. And then foreign policy, no new wars, bringing the troops home, negotiating peace deals across the world. I mean, look, Kimberly, and I said this to the president last week, and he laughed when I said it because it's so true. Donald Trump delivered a booming economy, a secure border, and world peace. I don't know what more people expect or want from an American president. And basically, all he has to say is exactly that. I did it before. I'm going to do it again. And here's how I'm going to improve your life. That's it.
It's really true. And, you know, it's the evidence is there. This isn't conjecture or speculation. He did it once before. We know the results that he got. The numbers don't lie. And we see right now, you know, becoming a failing nation under the misguided leadership of, you know, President Biden and Harris and essentially the Obamas still running things. And it's upsetting. I mean, people feel it. They feel it at, you know, the gas pump. They feel it in the paychecks, they feel it at the grocery store. We see what a disaster we have from a national security and foreign policy, you know, point of view. Ukraine wouldn't be happening if President Trump was in power. You would not see, you know, Putin and Russia on the march. You would not see an emboldened China going after Taiwan. You know, you would not see, you know, Kim Jong-un, you know, feeling himself too. I mean, all these people were held in check when President Trump was in office. And we cannot say that we are safer or more secure at home now under the Biden administration, because we are not. And our border is completely porous with illegals coming in, with drug trafficking, sex trafficking, child trafficking, fentanyl just pouring in, poisoning Americans. It's a very sad and dire, you know, set of events and affairs right now. And I really hope people take pause and really think about this, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican or a liberal or an independent or a libertarian. I don't care how you identify yourself. You're an American citizen. You know, think about what's best for the country is what I always tell people. And it is definitely not time to put a rookie in. We need, like you said, a fighter. And we've got a fighter in you. So let me ask you something. So, you know, you did such a fabulous job in Treasury last time. You know, if the president called you to serve again, would you be interested in doing so? And what would you be interested at what position?
I would join a second Trump term in a New York minute, Kimberly. And I told him as much. I would be honored to serve him and a second Trump administration in whatever capacity he deems best for me and my abilities. I mean, I love this country, body and soul, which is why I've dedicated my entire career to serving America in the media, making these arguments, just making sure that my country was always on the right track. And now, Kimberly, I've been very blessed to have worked with not one, but two American presidents, President Nixon during the last years of his life, and President Trump. But I always joke, man, do I know how to pick them or what? Only the most controversial
you
presidents
don't take the layups,
Monica.
that's for sure.
No way, no boring presidents, no Grover Clevelands for me, okay?
Exactly, but you're a fighter too. That's the thing. You know how to fight.
That's it. You know what? Both men, I often think about what brings them together. Obviously, they're very different men and had very different presidencies, but they were both outsiders. They were both disruptors, which is why the deep state and the administrative state were out to get both of them. But, you know, they also were underdogs because they weren't part of the establishment. Mm-hmm. And they were fighting for the American people. Nixon really was the first America First OG, right? And then Donald Trump comes in a different era and renews the whole concept and takes it into the 21st century. I would serve in a second Trump White House in a flash for whatever job he would want me for. I would be there right by his side to bring America back.
Absolutely, and I know you would do a phenomenal job just like you did last time. And that's the point. You have all that experience. We need fighters. Like, let's just use the experience and the good judgment and get the best absolute people back in there right away to save this country. I'm already thinking ahead. You know what I'm saying? So, well, I appreciate you. My great friend for God knows how many years. I don't even want to say, but a long time. But always good to fight right alongside you.
Amen, sister. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be in the foxhole with you.
Absolutely. A total pleasure. I feel the same way. And follow her across all the platforms. You can find her on Twitter and Truth Social and all that good stuff. And, it's well worth it to read her articles and her op-eds. They're fantastic. And take a look at that episode from last Wednesday where she interviewed the President of the United States. Monica Crowley, be well, my friend.
Thank you. Kimberly, you too. God bless.
God bless. And my closing remarks are just ahead. But first, I want to also thank another one of our amazing sponsors, Genucel Skincare. With Genucel, you will find yourself looking refreshed, rejuvenated, and years younger right before your eyes. Genucel's secret is a family recipe for over 20 years that makes it safe for all skin types and perfect for both men and women. You can share. And it's always going to be cruelty-free and all natural. And right now, Genucel is upgrading their most popular package to feature the top-selling vitamin C serum plus the Ultra Retinol Moisturizer. You can use it to see instant results to visibly reduce appearance of wrinkles, fine lines, under-eye puffiness, and much more. So stay healthy, be your best, and discover the Genucel difference. Go to Genucel.com/Kimberly and get over 70% off of Genucel's most popular package. That's Genucel.com/Kimberly. And in closing tonight, there is no force like Donald Trump in American politics. No one with the proven track record, the unflinching support, and fearlessness to meet the moment that we're in right now. And it's why now, more than ever, we must get behind an America First agenda that will destroy the deep state, dismantle the Democrats' grip on power, and deliver prosperity for working families all across this beautiful country. And like I've said, this isn't the time for training wheels. Donald Trump is ready for this job on day one and is ready to take on the swamp from inside the courtroom to across the campaign trail. And we are here on Rumble to bring you a front row seat to all of it, where we reject the false narrative and we always seek the truth. So be sure to like and subscribe to my channel at Kimberly Guilfoyle and to Don Jr.'s channel. Turn on notifications, download the Rumble app, and tell all of your friends so they know exactly where to find us. And also be sure to follow us across all platforms: Twitter, Truth Social, Facebook, and Instagram. And don't miss Don Jr.'s big show tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern with James O'Keefe. You do not want to miss it. This is going to be one for the record books. And hop on over, kindly please, to Locals for a live Q&A with me. Have a wonderful evening, and I will see you all right back here on Rumble on Monday.